Hey witchies, welcome back to Everyday Witch. In today's video, we are doing a history lesson on the Ouija board. Before we get into that history lesson, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to be part of our witchy vibes all year round. Let's get into it. Okay, witchies. One of my personal fascinations has always been the Ouija board. It has always seemed like a little bit of a weird thing how people are so afraid of it, but I also kind of like that because it just makes it all the more spookier, all the more mysterious. And so I got curious myself of the origins of the Ouija board and how it became feared and all this kind of stuff. So I did a personal kind of investigation and I was like, I'm going to make this into a video. I think you guys will also find it very interesting. So, all right, boys and girls, sit down, grab some coffee or tea, and let's get into this lesson. So first, we have to begin with the emergence of spiritualism. When talking about the origins of the Ouija board, we have to remember two girls named Maggie and Kate Fox. They were simply known as the Fox sisters, and in 1848, they decided to spread the word of their own personal paranormal experience in their house that they were currently living in at the time. So they claimed that their house was haunted and a ghost was knocking and tapping on the walls when they would communicate with the ghost. So they would ask the ghost something like, knock twice if it's yes, once if it's no. And so the ghost would do that and they're like, oh my God, we're communicating, we're getting answers, we're friends. So this kind of went around the United States basically. And the thing with this is that people were already kind of in dark times during the 1948, even before that, of course. But so spiritualism was kind of like a means of comfort in kind of a different way than other religions could, provide, let's say, because with spiritualism, you could communicate with the dead versus they're just in the afterlife and I'll see you when I die, basically. Like, you could communicate with them. And so this brought a lot of comfort when there was a lot of childbirth death. Either the baby died or the mother died. A lot of disease that there was no cure for. And also just wars in general. And we'll see throughout, but the Civil War in the United States, World War I, World War II, there were a lot of deaths and very tragic ones and a lot of, MIAs. And so people wanted to just know what happened to so-and-so. And if ghosts can communicate, then people were like, we should get in on this. So I do want to read you this quick little quote here that says, spiritualism was not necessarily seen as a separate religious movement, but as a way of providing evidence to support religious beliefs in both life after death and the existence of the soul. So I just want to remind you guys that the Fox sisters said this story in 1848, but by 1851, they confessed that it was fake. They were just BSing, you guys fell for it. And so by the time that it was announced that the Fox sisters were totally BSing, it was kind of too late because spiritualism already took off and seances were a thing and mediums were a thing. And also the other thing about spiritualism was that it gave women more of a role in terms of like a religious thing because, spiritualism is a religion, but it gave women more of a role because it was said that mediums were best if they were women because they were more in tune with their feelings. So the first seances were kind of known as table tipping. So this was basically like you're all around a table holding hands with the medium. And basically you are just saying the alphabet out loud. So you're like A, B, C. But when you got to a letter that the spirit was like, yeah, then the table would rattle and then be like, okay, so we got an R. And then you would have to go through the whole alphabet again to get to the next letter. And you can just imagine that'll take forever. So there was that way with communicating with spirits, but there was also automatic writing, I believe it was called, which is like basically when the medium goes into a trance and, she writes really quick, like whatever the message is, which I would imagine that would be like your preference because table tipping, you're going to be there for a few hours. So with all this happening, people were like, man, there needs to be an easier way to communicate with these spirits, because table tipping takes forever and mediums are getting pricey, I'm sure. And so it's like, I always got to hire somebody to tell me what the message is. I wish there was just a way that I myself communicate with the ghosts without being a medium, without having any kind of special powers. So then comes our man, Charles Kennard. So he comes in and he's like, all right, I'm going to solve your guys' problem. I am going to produce a talking board, a spirit board, where we will just have the alphabet on it, and then we'll find a way where we can figure out like what letter they're choosing. Then there comes the planchette, which is that little teardrop shaped wooden thingy that goes, over the letters when the ghost is communicating. So Charles Kennard went ahead and was like, all right, I'm going to make a company name, the Kennard Novelty Company, and we're going to sell Ouija boards. But at the time, it wasn't called a Ouija board. They were just calling it a talking board or a spirit board. And they're like, well, that's not really original, is it? What should we call it? Who do we ask? So they went ahead and they asked the Ouija board. Charles Kennard go ahead and tells everyone else that the Ouija board named itself. He asked the Ouija board, what do you want to be called? And it spelled the word Ouija. And then he was like, that's a really weird name. What does that mean? It means good luck, the board said. Interesting. So the interesting thing about when the board was first created, the way it was supposed to be played was with two people. And so you would sit in front of the other person, knees touching, and put the board on your lap. And so then, of course, you guys would put your fingertips on the planchette, and then, the board will talk. Well, at the time, this was a little scandalous because, oh my God, we're touching knees and we're touching fingertips. And so a lot of the time, this board game would be considered kind of like a date game, kind of flirty. And so what can be more romantic than summoning demons together on the first date? So Charles Kennard, when he first founded the company, he had 4 guys with him, including himself, who's the founder. The other 2 guys, we're not going to talk so much about them because for the purpose of making this, a brief history lesson. But let's focus on William Fuld, who was another very important person in the Kennard Novelty Company that produced the Ouija board. He also used the boards to ask questions, guidance in life, and that type of thing. And he asked the board, where should I go to sell more Ouija boards? And the board's like, go to Baltimore and prepare for big business. William Fuld did go to Baltimore, opened his big factory in 1927. And so he was like, all right, let's make them. And so this is very interesting because the Ouija board told William Fuld to go to Baltimore and make this factory. Guys, I'm going to admit, what I'm about to tell you next is freaky as F. I don't even... Okay, let me just tell you. So, again, as I just mentioned, the Ouija board was like, go to Baltimore and make the factory, and he did. And William Fuld was on the roof of this factory, overseeing like a pole, like a flagpole being put on the roof, just kind of overseeing it. But he was standing kind of close to the edge of the roof. And so he lost his footing. He grabbed onto the pole for support. Somehow, like, he said something like before he died, like the pole got kind of like pulled away from his hands. So he fell. Then he caught himself onto an open windowsill. Like, oh my God. Okay, so great. I caught myself falling. But then the windowsill closes on his fingers and he falls to the ground and breaks a few ribs. Thanks a lot, Ouija board. So the ambulance comes. They take him away for his broken ribs to, go to the hospital. The ambulance hits a bump in the road. And his broken ribs, one of them stabs his heart. And then he dies. So you would have thought he would have died from the fall. No, he died in the ambulance being taken to the hospital because one of his ribs stabbed his heart. Thanks a lot, Ouija board. That's not the creepiest, spooky story of how to die from a Ouija board. Like, I honestly don't know what is. Like, to me, that's like the scariest story I've heard so far. Like, beyond anything that I've heard, like in horror movies, basically. Conservative religions always saw the board as witchcraft. Or like, this doesn't seem right. You don't really know who you're talking to. Anyone can say, I'm so-and-so. And so there was always that kind of like stigma already around it. But the real fear of the demons, the real fear of, evil spirits, all that kind of stuff didn't come actually until The Exorcist. So The Exorcist was a book written in 1971 by William Peter Blattley. Blattley? I might be saying his last name wrong. But anyway, he created the book and then it was made into a movie. And I think you guys might know the reactions from when people went to go see The Exorcist in 1973 in the movie theaters. But anyway, ever since The Exorcist, now it really has a bad name. Now it's all bad juju. Don't mess with it. And the horror movies just continue on from that. Which is, that is the briefest lesson on the history of the Ouija board that I can give you at the moment without putting you guys to sleep, I guess. Personally, I have never played the Ouija board. Just never really got the opportunity, to be honest. I don't know if I really would. I don't know if it works. I don't know if it works. And I hear people say all the time, like, don't even have it in your house. Like, it brings bad luck. That I am kind of gonna say I don't know if that's true, because I kind of do have a Ouija board, I guess you can say. Like, this was a tray from Home Goods that I got last year. And I think it would work. It's made out of wood. And I think if I had a planchette, it should be able to work. And I mean, it lives on my bed every single day because my cat, Meow Meow, loves sleeping in it. And so I don't think I've had any bad luck, any worse luck or whatever. Like, I think things are totally normal. Things are totally fine. I haven't felt anything weird. There's nothing moving. It's a normal household. But you guys, the stigma behind the Ouija board has always fascinated me. And so I would love to hear your experience with Ouija boards. Have you played it? Did nothing happen? Did you play it and like all hell broke loose and what, ruined my life? Just tell me anything you know, stories, anything like that. Let me know if you like this kind of history lesson. There are a lot of things of spookiness that I find fascinating. I always want to know the origins of things. I don't like to just, oh, that's how it is. Like, I always want to know, but why? All right, witchies. So again, comment below anything you have to say about the Ouija board, and like and subscribe if you haven't already to be in our coven, and share this video with anyone else who you think might enjoy a spooky history lesson. Thank you so much, witchies. I hope you guys really enjoy this, and I will see you in that next video. Bye-bye.